My 3 least favorite words for new moms: enjoy every moment. Because you know what it makes me assume? It makes me assume that the person saying it has never been covered in poop. They have never been covered in vomit.
Right.
They have never gone 48 hours straight without sleeping. And they certainly have not been through the trifecta where all 3 of those things are happening at the same time.
No sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Uh-huh. So, let's talk about it.
All right. I'm ready.
Okay.
Yes. So, do you have any stories where you were ever experiencing that trifecta or?
So there is this moment that comes to mind. And this is where it comes from, why this is my least favorite. I was sitting in my recliner. So this was with Jack. Jack was a newborn, so it was my first baby. I was in my recliner. He threw up all the time, but he was what they called happy spitter. So like no one cared that he was throwing up all the time except for me, who was using full-blown muslin blankets as if they were burp cloths, because a burp cloth didn't come close to covering it. And then you take him to the doctor and they're like, it's fine, everything's fine, no big deal. So, I mean, I'm glad he was happy at least, right? He wasn't in pain, but it was kind of obnoxious. And so, yes, I was sitting in my recliner and I am absolutely covered in vomit because I have made the mistake of feeding him and not putting on a giant blanket wrapped around me to
raincoat.
Catch all of the poop. I am so super sleep deprived. I am starving and dehydrated because I have not eaten all day long. I have a solution we teach for that now with snack stations, but like first time mama, I didn't know any of this stuff, right? I am just in like this miserable mode. My breasts are so engorged. They're in pain. They're leaking milk. I desperately need to pump because Jack couldn't latch, so I was exclusively pumping, but I'm nap trapped under him. And so I can't do anything. I can't eat. I can't go get water. I can't pump my boobs. Like, I can't do any of the things. I am as hormonal as I can be and as upset and exhausted as I can be. And of course, I had postpartum anxiety that was raging. Right. And I get this text message from one of my friends. And it's not asking about me. And so I think that's like hurtful moment number 1. When we only ask about baby, we don't ask about mom. And it says, hey, mama, how's baby doing? Enjoy every moment. They don't last forever. And I wanted to throw my phone through a glass window and just watch everything shatter. Like, that is how harsh this felt to me. But you want to know what, in hindsight, the most maddening thing about this advice is?
What?
Like, it's also not necessarily bad advice.
Sure, yeah.
Because everything really is fleeting and temporary and, like...
Newborns don't keep.
Babies don't keep. And so they have to be my 3 least favorite words. Because in the wrong moment, they can make you feel so unfit and unhinged. And yet... it's not technically bad advice. They're true. They're not true. I mean, every moment is not enjoyable. And to pretend that it is not being honest with ourselves or with other mothers. But at the same time...
that time goes by so fast.
You don't realize when you're in it how quickly it's going to go by. I mean, I'm not going to lie. And... Jack, sweetie, if you were ever listening to this one day, like, I want to be really clear that this is about mommy's mental health and not about you. But I didn't enjoy very many minutes or moments of my newborn stage with Jack because my postpartum anxiety was so bad. And we'll talk about that at length a different time. But, like, it made it really, really hard for me. Because of that, like, that was the most infuriating thing you could say anytime with Jack.
Did you feel like you were kind of robbed of enjoyment?
So that's the thing. Yeah. Now, yeah. Because when I had Branham, I didn't have postpartum anxiety. I think there are a number of things we can attribute that to. It could have just been luck, but also I was working with both my own normal psychiatrist and the postpartum psychiatrist I started seeing after I had Jack during my pregnancy with Branham.
You also knew what to expect.
Oh, you knew what to expect. So I would love for us to do an episode one day on like the transition from 0 to 1 versus any number after that. Which one's harder is different for different people. But for me, the transition from 1 to 2 was 100,000 times easier than 0 to 1 because of the emotional elements, right? Because I didn't have postpartum anxiety, but also because of the identity shift. For me, going from being someone who was autonomous with her time and her choices, who had independence, who got to make her own decisions, to all of a sudden realizing, like, if I want to get a smoothie,
Somebody else has to do it.
I have to strap a baby in a car to get in the car and drive 3 minutes down the road to park, to get the baby out of the car, to carry him into the restaurant that is only, like, the register is probably 15 feet from the car, but I can't just leave a newborn in a car in Atlanta, so I have to take him in. And then I have to finagle getting back out with the smoothie and with the baby. And I'm not going to lie, having 2 kids right now, I can picture doing all of this very easily. I'm like, oh, well, I would just put the infant carrier this way and I would do this thing and I would put the smoothie in the car first. But as a first-time mom, you don't know those tricks. You haven't figured those things out. This episode is sponsored exclusively by Genate by Snip Therapeutics, providing genetics-powered nutrition tailored for every stage of the fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum journeys. With Genate, it's not just about a single product or service. It's about a journey toward optimal maternal and fetal health. From their insightful Genate test to their meticulously formulated prenatal vitamin, every step is a leap forward in maternal care. My own journey with Genate has been transformative, bringing a sense of control and peace in an often unpredictable time. They are changing the game in prenatal nutrition, and I'm proud to be part of the movement to provide personalized healthcare for every mother out there. Learn more at undefiningmotherhood.com/Genate and use code undefining10 for 10% off. So I was really taken aback by how much of my life didn't feel like my own anymore.
And you had been so used to being in control, right? Of everything.
I am such a control freak.
Is there anything like that you can control about having a newborn?
I mean, I love that question, actually. That's a great question. I think what you can control is you can control, you know what? This is why I created the Expecting and Organized planner, actually. When I wrote that planner, what I really wanted to do was give moms the resources I wished I had had to have things set up to make things easier. So if you have food right next to you in a snack station,
you're going to be less hangry.
You're going to be less hungry. If you have water right next to you in that snack station, you're not going to be dehydrated. You're not going to have the blood sugar drops. So I don't think there's anything we can do to make newborn life go the way we planned, right? But I think there are things we can do to set ourselves up for success when the hard parts come. Make sure we have all the medicines purchased and in one place where we know where they are. Because I remember John having to run to Target like 5 minutes before Target closed to get Jack a medicine because he had a fever. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. What do I give a baby with a fever? I don't know what to do. So, you know, I think that kind of preparation, like that's literally why I created that planner. So I think that's one way you can have some simple little elements of control. One thing I did that gave me a lot of control during that time with Jack, and I didn't do this with Branham for a number of reasons, but with Jack was I actually scheduled someone to come over once John went back to work. I scheduled someone to come to my house every single day and visit me, a friend. And that was
with Branham or Jack?
With Jack.
Okay.
And that was a luxury that I had because I was teaching at Georgia Tech and all of my best friends taught college. And Jack was born in June.
Yes.
So
we were all available.
When John was back in school, back at work, on July 15th, all my friends who taught college still had 4 more weeks. So you would come, Molly would come, or Rebecca would, like, I had this list
Right,
of people,
Catherine,
and
yeah.
someone was scheduled every single day. And the reason I did that is because, one, postpartum anxiety manifests in a lot of ways. And one of mine was that I didn't feel capable of taking care of him. A lot of moms with postpartum anxiety they don't want anyone else to have their baby because they don't believe the baby's safe with anyone but them. I was the opposite. I believed I was incapable of taking care of him. And so I wanted someone else there. But it was also because I knew that while they were there, I could get food, I could get a drink, and I could hook up to the breast pump. So worst comes to worst, if he didn't want to nap anywhere but me all day, I was going to be able to pump and eat. And like that was the thing that I needed. So that helped me. Most people aren't lucky enough to have that. And certainly with Branham, I didn't have that. But at that point, I had more mom friends and from different arenas. I also had a babysitter who we trusted at that point. You know, I didn't know how to find a babysitter when I had Jack. With Brandon, we already had a babysitter. And so I actually had that babysitter pick him up from school. And then after she dropped Jack off from school, she would stay and she would wash pump parts if there were any. I didn't have as much because I nursed Branham more. She would do the dishes, she would take out the trash, and then she would leave. Like it was small stuff, but it's small stuff that adds up to so much. So, you know, one thing I think we can do to give ourselves some control there is figure out, are there any people or support systems we can put in place? One of the best ones tends to be like, do you just have a teenager down the street who you can pay $10 an hour to come to your house 1 hour a day, 3 days a week, and empty your diaper pails and change over the laundry and change over the dishes and like, you know, it all depends. It depends on your support system and your circumstances. But I think those are the little things we can control. And then we just have to know how out of control it is. We can't control if feeding goes the way we want, if sleeping goes the way we want, if we're the kind of parent we thought we'd be. We can't control any of these things. God knows we can't control our mental health.
Right. So do you feel like having these systems in place helps you? I know enjoy every moment is
Oh,
our
God.
topic of
Yeah,
but those
we'll get to
systems
it. We'll go
do
back.
help you enjoy things a little bit more, right?
They do.
Like,
They do.
they
So
help you. When you have support, it's easier
it's
to
easier with support.
be
But
in the
honestly,
moment.
I had more support with Jack than I did with Branham because I physically required it. Like I created, and I know there are moms out there who are hearing this and thinking, well, I wish I could have created it. And Mama, like, I feel for you. It worked out, the timing and the way that my friends were, that it worked. And thankfully they all came in. But, you know, I actually had less support with Branham, but I still enjoyed more moments. And a big part of that was that I had prepared better. A big part of that was that I understood how much I didn't have control over. And a big part of it was just that I didn't have postpartum anxiety. And I mean, I was on medication, which I was not with Jack. I stayed medicated through my whole pregnancy with Branham, and I'm thankful I did. But, you know, the thing about that is that having that postpartum experience with Branham really made me very sad for the moments that I missed with Jack. And it really complicated this term for me, this enjoy every moment term, because it was like, I still can't enjoy every moment. Branham is hitting her twos more and more by the day, and I do not enjoy the bedtime tantrums every night. But like, I enjoyed so much more with her in a way that I couldn't have even imagined the first time around. That it also, I feel robbed by my own brain.
Yep.
And mental health struggles, yes.
Having known you for both pregnancies and both postpartum terms, it was night and day. I mean, I remember with Jack coming over to your house and you had to go to the lactation consultant, right? And so you were so anxious that you could not drive him to your consultation, right? Like I had to drive and you had to be looking at him in the back seat.
Literally, I had to be in the back seat with him, watching his head positioning, seeing that he was breathing. Like,
I think that's the moment I realized how bad it was for you.
And you know what's funny? That was around, I believe, week 5. He
was tiny.
I was 3 weeks into Zoloft at that point and infinitely better than I had been in the weeks before. Not not where I wanted to be yet, but I was infinitely better by that point. And I couldn't
So
put him in the
part
car.
of saying enjoy every moment to people is like, you just don't know what they're going through, right?
That's
like,
the thing. You just don't know what they're going through,
you
right?
are physically incapable of enjoying it.
Exactly. I was physically incapable of enjoying it. And so if we say it to a mom in that moment,
Yeah, you make her feel bad.
it's harmful,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But then sometimes is it the right thing to say? Because if someone said it at the right moment with Brandon, it might have made me feel supported. Okay, so this is so nuanced. I'll let you know what? This one's gonna be a doozy. Get comfy here with me.
All right, I'm ready.